we're an aging group, and there are not enough young people in payroll to backfill our jobs. In the next 10 years is looking real bleak for payroll, folks. So we need to start getting young people excited. Welcome to our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll game or a seasoned veteran, we have something for you. Welcome back, folks. This is episode 95. Gosh, 95, bro.
95.
It's about payroll, and we are talking about the tax brackets today. There's been a change in tax brackets, and there's definitely impacts of payroll. Before we get into that, what's up, Walt? How you been doing, man?
Man, I'm good, bro. I can't complain.
Nobody listen anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
that's
no.
That's what my uncles used to tell me
the
all the
truth.
time.
That's the truth. Either nobody cares or everybody's dealing with their own stuff. Man, that's
No doubt.
life, man. But I'm good. I can't believe that we're already in 2024.
Dude, the
And
time, yes.
time has just like flown by, in my opinion, man. And so yeah, I'm just grateful that we still have another season going, season 8 in
Excited.
effect.
Yeah, this is season 8. Even though we're talking about tax brackets today, the theme of this season is how do we get young people excited about payroll?
Yep.
So that you guys will definitely see some episodes about that coming up.
Yep.
As we get excited for it because we're prepping for it and we're like, oh my gosh, we could talk about this and we could talk about that. Right now, I want to talk about why my camera's giving me a hard time because your camera looks crisp right now and mine's blurry. I'm really upset.
I don't know why it does that.
Yeah. I did research, and this is apparently one of the best cameras to get. Anywho. All right, man, start us off, man. What do you got for us for these brackets, tax brackets increases?
I found a pretty great article on FoxBiz.com, and they're talking about the 2024 tax brackets taking effect and what that means for paychecks this year.
Got it.
So we have some key points that we want to go over and some tips about preparing for employee questions, things you should do in that regard, and things payroll professionals can do to understand the new brackets, man. So
awesome.
That's it. I can start us off with the key points, and I guess you can take over when the stuff for employees to prepare for and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's get into it. Key point number 1. Higher federal income tax brackets and standard deductions. The new federal income tax brackets and standard deductions, they took effect January 2024. The adjustments aim to prevent a bracket creep, which is a new term I've never heard of, a bracket creep.
I've heard of scope creep in projects, but bracket.
Ensuring taxpayers are not pushed into higher income brackets due to inflation.
Okay.
So that seems like it's a pretty good thing, right? That the government is like making sure that they're accounting for that. So the IRS made annual adjustments this year, and the tax brackets are shifting higher by a little over 5%, 5.4%.
Okay.
That leads into key point number 2. What impact does that have on people's take-home pay? Higher thresholds for tax rates could result in increased take-home pay for millions of Americans across all income brackets. So that means, go ahead.
I was going to say, why do you say could? Because everybody's different, right?
Yeah, everybody's situation is different. You never know what exemption they're taking, what they have dependents and things like that. So it could save you some money and add to your check. So what this is saying is that you may, but don't automatically
assume exactly. It really depends on all your little intricacies and nuances and taxes and a lot of. Okay, yeah, that's why I appreciate they use the word could.
Yes, it could. So number 3, inflation and tax adjustments. So I know I mentioned inflation before, but since inflation is high, we're in a high time of inflation, such an adjustment like the ones they're doing now are more significant and impactful for taxpayers. So although inflation has decreased over the past year, it still remains higher than pre-pandemic average, and the Federal Reserve's target. So that's why they're doing it. The government, the IRS, made these adjustments to, like I said earlier, to counteract inflation.
Inflation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that.
So
I appreciate them doing something.
there's going to be some standard deduction changes. So, we know what the standard deductions are as payroll professionals. And if you're new to the game, maybe you're just learning those things. But I'm going to just go over quickly what some of the standard deduction increases for 2024 are.
Gotcha.
So for married couples filing jointly, it is $29,200. That's up from $27,700 from last year. That's that 5.4% increase, right? So for individuals, the standard deduction is $14,600. That's up from $13,850. And for head of households, it is now $21,900, and that's up from $20,800. So each one kind of went up almost $1,000, a little bit more. So that will help you when you have a standard deduction that may aid with you getting more money back or whatever on your taxes. So other tax provisions, number 5. So increase thresholds for several tax provisions, including the income earned tax credit amount. Families with 3 or more qualifying children can receive $7,830, which is up from $7,430 in 2023. And the maximum contribution to health flexible spending accounts rose by $150 to $3,200. So that's pretty much it for some of the updates with these tax brackets.
Nice. This episode is presented by TimeTrakGO, the simply better employee time clock software that is going to make your life easier. In addition to the unique graphical employee time card that helps you quickly identify and fix mistakes, TimeTrakGO is excited to announce it's now compatible with QuickBooks Desktop, providing effortless data transfer and reduced errors. TimeTrakGO will not only save you time and money each week, but the easy to understand user interface and the ability to turn a tablet into a time clock will get you and your team up and going in just minutes. Find out what a simply better solution can do for your business. To learn more and sign up for your 14-day free trial, go to www.timetrakgo.com. That's www.timetrakgo.com. Or you can call 888-321-9922. That's 888-321-9922. Let's go.
So preparing for employee questions. So what could we do, right? So we want to definitely communicate. Communication is going to be a big thing. So we want to proactively communicate these changes to employees and emphasizing the potential benefits.
I have a problem with that one though. Like I'd be hesitant to do that because I think it really depends on. I think it depends on the culture, right? If your company is good at communicating, then yes, throw it in the mix. But if you're still finding the rhythm, if you're still building the communication pipeline and stuff like, because things like this, you know how it goes. If you spook folks, you send something out there. Oh my gosh, my taxes. Oh, I'm gonna make more money. Oh, I'm gonna do that. So you gotta find the right way to do it. Because for me, I think I might do something like, hey, folks, tax brackets are changing. Go and look at it. You're like, go do the research.
Yeah.
As opposed to here are the changes, right? Because then it's, payroll said, look, I'm gonna get more money. So I just be wary or like very mindful of how you communicate what you're saying to folks with this.
I think you have to. I think you have to do that no matter what. when you communicate. What you were saying, be cautious with whether you communicate when you put the information out there. So whether you're in an environment that communication is great or there's some growth potential in that department in the communication department, I think that you have to do what you said either way and be mindful about how you communicate.
Yeah.
Like we say, know your audience.
Yes.
Know,
Know your
know,
audience. Perfect. That's
know
it.
your audience. And you have to really make sure that you're speaking their lingo as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
And just emphasize those things that it
Yeah.
said, like it said, potential
Yep.
sometimes, and it said could
Yes.
increase your
Maybe.
take-home pay, might.
Yeah.
Like you, with those things, you want to highlight and emphasize those things in the
Word.
communication. Those are some of the tips that I've learned. Is just when somebody says, "Oh, you cannot," and they emphasize not,
Not. Yeah.
underscore,
Yeah.
bold.
Bold.
Yeah. So like that, you can put that there. And even if you do that in communication, sometimes people just gloss over that, no matter how
Yes.
much. Just want to be
Yes.
mindful to Brian's point. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Educational resources. Provide educational materials explaining the new tax brackets and standard deductions. See, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Brian was saying, right? Point them in the right direction is what this is
Yes,
saying.
that's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, point them
Because
like,
this stuff gets deep, and we're
yeah,
not tax we're not supposed to be the tax professional, because payroll people could be a tax professional, but I'm just saying
yeah.
we're that's not it takes on a whole different responsibility when you're trying to say, hey, this is what you should do. No guidance for sure,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But yeah, that's why I just get nervous with all, like, ooh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. And then you also want to make sure you have support from HR,
Hmm.
ensuring HR teams are well
Yes.
versed in changes to assist with employee queries, right? So
Yes.
you want to make sure that you notify your HR team, hey, just because HR and payroll, if they're not under the same
Holy
umbrella,
Trinity of payroll.
you know what I'm saying? So sometimes payroll will report to finance, but you're still interconnected with HR because
Yep.
you move in the same
Yeah.
flow
Yeah.
as them, and they're interconnected. It's important that you share those things with your HR team and make them aware. Say, hey, if you get questions, team, just provide this email. My team, we have an email template that we have saved in Outlook that has the different resources, that
Oh,
has
dope.
the different things,
Oh,
and
so your
saying like,
response has it every.
yep,
Oh, nice. Very
yep.
cool. Oh,
So
that's a good trick for folks. Yeah.
has the link to
Yep.
IRS, and we just update it every year
Nice.
if anything changes, right? So
That's a good
that's an
one.
easy thing to do. You just say when somebody asks a tax question, boom, here you go.
Yep.
Because we're like, to Brian's point, we're you might be a tax professional as a payroll
Yeah. Yeah. Not
pro.
saying you should can't be, but
Yeah,
that's not the role you're taking as a payroll professional in your organization.
yeah.
You're not advising your employees on tax matters. That's
Unless,
not the
unless,
role.
unless that's your job description, whatever. But
Well, hey, if that is, come and share with us how that works.
yes, please.
I've never heard of that. So yes, if you're doing that,
Yes,
please tell us how that goes.
yes. All right. You definitely, one thing you could do to help with this is you can have Q&A sessions, question and
Yeah.
answer sessions, right? Do some webinars,
FAQs. Yep.
FAQs, organize these sessions where employees can ask questions and clarify doubts about these tax adjustments for the brackets, right? That's something that you can potentially do to help. Or like Brian said, create these FAQs and send those out and go
Yeah.
from there. Online portals. You could utilize online platforms to share detailed information, again, and FAQs for easy access. You can have it if you have an intranet at your employer, then you can put that stuff on there. If everybody has access, you can put that data there.
Yeah.
Some of the payroll providers, the third-party payroll providers that we use are HCMs. They have spaces in their program where you can have a company page, maybe when you log in, and you can put those things there for people to review. So you have all these different things online, these options that you can use online for these portals. And then the last thing, like I said before, is workshops or webinars,
Webinar.
webinars,
It's early,
web,
folks. Sorry, we're
web,
getting it
web,
together.
webinars.
Get that
You know,
coffee in you.
yeah, I need something. Conduct workshops or webinars to guide employees through these changes and address concerns. So some type of meeting Something that Brian has implemented in his career is having standing sessions where people can just say, hey, at this time, you can get on with us during the week at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, and you can jump on and ask us any questions that you have. So doing those type of things, just having a standing recurring meeting that people can readily and availably access.
Yep.
That'd be a good thing.
We
So
call it open office hours.
open
And we
office
do it
hours.
once a week. Yeah. It's
So
been good.
yeah, so by implementing these strategies, payroll professionals can help employees navigate and understand the impact of these new tax adjustments effectively. So with that being said, Brian's going to name a few things that payroll professionals need to understand when it comes about to these new tax brackets. You want to go, Brian?
Yes, sir. So yeah, payroll folks. So those are the changes. And then it's like, how does that impact us as payroll professionals? So what should
Mm-hmm.
we be doing? What should we be mindful of? Can we be proactive? Yes. What things can we do and what should we know as a
Mm-hmm.
payroll pro that impacts our world, right? So the first thing is
Yeah.
understanding what you broke down, how the thresholds change. Because if you're familiar with the IRS withholding tables, you can determine the correct amount of federal tax to withhold from an employee. More importantly, you can check it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I hope folks aren't calculating gross to net manually, right? That's not sustainable in a big organization. If you're in a small shop, maybe. And if that's the case, then you got to know these. If you're in, like when I was in higher ed, we used a system that we had to build the tax brackets. We would get the updates, but they wouldn't automatically flow into the system. We
Mm-hmm.
had to get it in the system. There were fields for us to put it in, but we
Yeah.
had to update and key everything in. It was just like a template that we had to keep updated. And yeah, I always say you don't know payroll until you've done in-house payroll like that. Like it's very manual intensive. You have to know where everything goes. And being familiar with these updates can help you not only check folks if their check is working, but you can also check the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the big folks automatically do these updates, but pressure test them. Maybe their timing is off. Maybe
Yep.
they're off a little bit. No
Mm-hmm.
one's perfect. This stuff is not auto magically happening in the world. Just because the IRS puts the tax updates out doesn't mean it cascades to all the systems magically. No,
Yeah. That's
right?
that's
What were you gonna
that's
say?
true. That's you still have to make sure that it's updated in the system, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's the third party, say you have an ADP or one of these larger organizations that handles your tax for you, you
Yep.
still want to make sure that they're honest and make sure that they update those rates because at the end of the day, ADP is not going to be held liable.
Nope.
You are as the
Yes.
company, right?
That's such a great call out for this conversation, Walt. Thank you for that. Because that and if you ever, gosh, I don't know where they say it, but we come across it in our true payroll crime shows
Yeah.
when we talk about how these companies like evade, because to evade is illegal. They'll talk about, well, just because Steve Harvey's the perfect, we always talk about Steve Harvey, perfect example. He was writing checks to his CPA to pay taxes, but the CPA wasn't paying the taxes. Steve Harvey is still responsible for those taxes,
Yep.
right? So the employer, we can write checks to ADP, can pull money automatically. Oh, beautiful, give us reports and all that. But if they don't deposit and file the money and the reports, the company is still liable.
Yep.
You can argue with ADP and you may be able to sue them on the side, but the IRS don't care about that. That's great. You do that, but you owe us this money right now because ADP
Yep.
never paid it. Thank you for that. That's a great call out.
Well, you handle that with them, and
Uh-huh.
you handle that with your accountant separately, and
Make sure
you still owe us our money.
send that check for like,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
It's perfect is and that's exactly right. So we have to be savvy enough to be dangerous, just to be able to
yeah,
check the systems. And it may involve working with your vendor. Hey, payroll, ADP, or paychecks, whoever you use, right? There's a multitude of systems out there. Valor payroll, whoever it is, right? As amazing as they all are, you still have to check them. And you might have to call them, hey, how do I check this? Show me where I check it. And
yep,
that puts them on alert too. Oh my gosh, whoa, whoa. Or you work with your IT team. So for me, when I mentioned the higher ed and we were doing our own thing in the system, we had to dedicate one of the people on the I team was our dedicated support for our in-house payroll system.
Yep.
So I had to work with my IT team internally to make sure these things were updated.
Yep.
So whatever the case may be, yeah, it's yeah. So whatever the case may be, make sure you're spot checking paychecks. If you're a small organization, do them all. If you're big, spot check. Make sure the system is calculating right. Pressure test your payroll system. And again, you may have to work with some internal folks or their folks to make sure it happens.
Yep.
The second thing is with the new adjustments and the tax credits, you have to be able to calculate taxable wages. Now, if you're new to payroll, taxable wages is what your gross is minus pre-tax deductions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those are your taxable wages. So often, if you're new to payroll, you come across this problem this time of year where folks call you and say, my gross is wrong. I make 100K. It only says 80 here. That's because you have $20,000 in pre-tax deductions. I'm just using round numbers, folks. That has lowered your taxable income. It lowers your point is the bracket changes is impacting those taxable incomes, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
taxable income dictates where you fall in the bracket.
Yep.
So heaven forbid the system has you hard coded to go to one bracket, but this update doesn't move you to a new bracket,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to the government's point, it's supposed to decrease your liability. And if it doesn't do that, you're paying high at a higher rate. Payroll professionals have to be able to calculate a taxable wage
Yep.
to determine whether it's working or not, right? So this is another great way to pressure test your systems.
Yes.
Okay. And it should come out on the reporting. There should be a report in your system that you can see taxable wages. It
Mm-hmm.
will be on your filings, right?
Yep.
I've had the pain or pleasure of actually filling out 941s manually, doing
Oof.
the calculation myself. That's why I'm fluent with taxable wages because I know how I've had to do it manually.
Yep.
So when you have to do that, again, there should be a report out of your system that help. If not, you should ask for a custom. What's up?
Yes. And one thing I wanted to point out is that on the W-2, depends on how your W-2 is
Laid
formatted
out.
because
Yeah.
some W-2s look different.
Yeah.
But on most W-2s, to Brian's point about the gross amount, there will be another section on the W-2 that
Hmm.
will show what that 1,000, 100,000, 100K is
Right.
per
The
year,
gross.
and then it will
Yeah.
say less medical,
Yes.
less cafe
Yes.
125,
Less
and then it will say
401k. Yes.
reported W-2 wages. So
Yep.
there will be a section on there. So you have to be mindful at that. That's probably a tip for the employees and or some people that
Heck
are
yeah.
new into payroll.
Yeah. It's all
Just
helpful.
remember that and be like, hey, okay, yes. And so that way you can explain that to the employee when they ask questions. No, you hit your 100K salary. See this section here? Oh, and then that will help employees realize, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I wasn't underpaid.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And shoot, I'm sure if we haven't gotten it yet, it's coming.
Yeah.
And the next takeaway for payroll pros is to be familiar with the compliance of the federal and state laws, right? Got to ensure that the compliance at both the federal and the state level is happening properly because sometimes there's
Hmm.
state brackets that might tax at a different. So you got to make sure that you're not just updating across the board. Oh, update
Hmm.
everything. No.
And
So
states could mean more than just state tax in this case, right?
locals
Because
fall under the states. Yes.
locals,
Yes.
unemployment tax rate,
Yes.
all those
Yes.
different things that
Sui.
may change, right?
Yes. Yep.
FUTA, SUTA, those different things may change the rates depending on your industry, depending
Mhm.
on your turnover, depending on different things. You may have a different rate in the new year. So you want to check all those things to your point. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me, and this is a little pro tip, right? We're talking about taxable wages and compliance with federal and state law. If you're doing taxable wages, 401k is only pre-tax on federal and I want to say state, but it's not pre-tax on Medicare and Social Security. And I'm like, well, why? Because the way they're
mhm,
seeing it is you're not going to double up. You're not going to pre-tax on your retirement for your
yeah,
retirement,
yep,
right? So just keep that little pro tip there. It's not it if your math is off, pull out that 401k number and
Mm-hmm.
do it separately and you'll see. So the next one is continuing education and training, of course, staying
Yeah.
informed, ongoing tax changes, right? Staying in the loop on this stuff and keeping your team updated, keeping yourself updated. Like we say in payroll, you just have to keep reinvesting in yourself. You have to stay on top of information. As I mention all the time, number one question we get in interviews: how do you stay on top of the changes?
Yep.
And you just do. You just know how to do it. If you're a veteran, you know how to plug in directly to your agencies and wherever you're paying taxes to. There are sources out there that that one-stop shop, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no standard to it. Stay on top of it. And then of course, like we said in the other part, employee communication, right?
Yeah, bro.
They got to communicate the changes to paychecks and include explaining how the new tax brackets may impact net pay. I and I look, I prepped my notes, right? And I had trouble. Again, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to make sure that you know your audience, like Walt said. So that's about it, folks. Those are the pro tips for you guys. Understanding these things ensure that payroll pros can accurately process payroll, comply with the laws, safeguard the employer and the employees from these tax related issues. Just knowing, right? Being in the know, making sure you're pressure testing the systems, and yeah, just staying on
Yep.
point.
Other tips that you could do, like something that wasn't that I just thought of, you could be proactive by running reports and doing some auditing, right? So if you know that this location is in Georgia, but you have employees on the roster for this location that live in Florida or live in North Carolina
Good call
or live
out.
in a different state and they
Yep.
travel to this location because it's
Ooh,
close to the state line,
reciprocity.
you want
Yep.
to see if they have reciprocity set up between those
Hmm.
states. And if not, you want to make sure that they have the proper tax code set up. Now, at the end of the day, that's you being proactive
Yeah.
and going the extra mile
Yep.
because sometimes it is up to the employee to make sure that their taxes are correct as well. They have a portion
Oh,
in that too,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. They have an own. I tell folks all the time,
Yeah.
part of the onus is on you all
Yep.
to check us, really. And I'm talking about you all. We're talking to employees to check our
Yeah.
paychecks.
Yes.
But like we talked about with David on that show, David's, I don't look at my pay stub. And yeah,
Yes.
you and probably about 85% of Americans, like just, we don't, oh, we get paid. It looks right. Good.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes. That's a part of the educational
Yes.
aspect that we mentioned earlier on in the
Yes.
show, right?
Yes.
That is a part of that information that you could
Yep.
put out there for them. Hey, if you just moved from one state to another,
Yes.
be mindful of this, be mindful of that. Look at your stub, research it. And like even us, sometimes as payroll pros and HR professionals, to your
Yeah.
point, well, what David just said,
Yeah.
I've known payroll pros in my career that said, I don't even look at my stub.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna say something, I forgot now. But yeah, man. Let's be more intentional
Yeah.
about checking this stuff out. Crap. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Communication. I
Yes.
I I it has become I don't know if you're a payroll pro out there and you think, oh, we don't do communications. You, we need to change that, right? Communication has become more a bigger part of payroll. As payroll grows,
Hmm.
communication has become a huge part of it,
Yeah.
and we talk about it all the time, right? And how you do it, how you craft it is on you, right? You find
Hmm.
that right, know your audience, like Walt said. It is important, it is required, that's the right word.
Yes.
It is absolutely required, and just know your audience. You don't have to become full newspaper every newsletter every week, no, not at all, but get
Yep.
on a good rhythm, right? Not don't You know what I think we need to do this year, all of us, all payroll professionals, be more intentional about how often we communicate the basics. Hey,
Yeah.
is your address correct? Did you move? Walt just said,
Hmm.
did you just move? Did you have any updates in your life, your elections, whatever the case may be? Hey, go look at your employee profile
Yep.
in ADP, in Paychecks, in Gusto, in whatever system you're using, Ceridian,
Yep.
TimeTrakGO, whatever it is that you're using. Make sure you're going into it and updating your profile, because all of these systems have employee self-service. I
Yes.
loved when employee self-service came out. Oh my gosh. Because I didn't have to key in direct deposits anymore. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. You key it in. It's on you. That's your information. So yeah, that was my 2 bits.
All
And
right.
that's it, folks, man. We love you. Yeah. That's it. Anything before we go?
No, that's it, man.
No? All right. Cool. Till the next time, folks. Again, look out for this season as we are going to start getting young people excited about getting in payroll. Because if you're a payroll pro and
Yeah.
you didn't know, our backfill is looking abysmal.
Yeah.
We're an aging group, and there are not enough young people in payroll to backfill our jobs. In the next 10 years is looking real bleak for payroll, folks. So we need to start getting young people excited. If you got young ones that don't know what to do with their careers,
Hmm.
push them into payroll. I'm thinking about getting my oldest like interested in payroll because hey, I can help her, right? I can be her mentor.
it,
So
it's it's like people when they, and I know this is a different subject before we end,
yeah, before it
a
was at the
different
end.
topic, but
Yeah.
I honestly want to let you know payroll is more than just payroll,
Oh my gosh,
right?
yes.
It's more than just numbers and stuff like that.
Yes.
You connect with other people
Yep.
constantly. You're
Yep.
always like, if you're one of those people that are extroverted and you're outgoing and you like to be engaged and connect with people and help people, payroll, you can do that.
Yes.
You can do that with payroll.
Yep.
You can interact and you can help people. It feels good as a payroll professional, making sure that someone, to me, making sure that someone is paid properly or correcting a problem for someone and providing that customer service. Payroll is customer service.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
different things that like you have to be good at in payroll that come with the payroll part. It's not just processing.
Nope.
There's a human aspect to it that you're connected to. So if you like, to your Brian's point about bringing in new talent, I think it's because we live in a time that gig work
Hmm.
and self-empowerment and you're able to become an influencer. There's
Yep.
more young people trying to be influencers and say, hey, that's going to be my choice or that's going to be my path, and they're not even thinking about like even going to college or even going getting
True.
an HR or payroll for
Yeah.
some people, right? They're like, hey, I'm just going to go online and just make my money that way.
Yep.
And so I think that's why we see industries like payroll and CPAs saying, hey, there's not a lot of there's not enough new talent coming in for us to have a good pass the baton and say, okay, hey, you're up next. So
Yeah.
I think that goes into it. So it'd be interesting to figure out why. Maybe we can do a show on it during this year or this season and say, hey, why is it happening? Just discover the why behind why there's no young talent coming in. We'll see.
Yeah. No. Yes. Exactly right. That's what I was gonna say. One of the things that I used to was like most fun for me early on in my payroll career is when I had
Hmm.
to give out paychecks or stubs. Right? They
Hmm.
came in, check day, payday. Now, even though it's just like practice even though most of them were pay stubs because everybody got direct deposit, but you still had to
Hmm.
go give them out. This is before you can opt out of it and
Yep.
get digital, right? I used to love it because I just had interaction. I would get out of my hole and I would be, hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, oh man, how you doing? I would just
Yeah.
love going around BSing with
Yeah.
everybody.
Yep.
So again, to Walt's point, if you're a people person and you're like, oh, you're stuck in a hole if you do payroll. No, not at all. And
Mm-mm.
guess what? Payroll is a great bridge over to HR
Yes, it
or
is.
over to finance.
Yes.
Myself is a perfect example. I am an HR director now, right? I'm not
Mhm.
in payroll anymore, but I still help with payroll because it's two sides of the same coin. It's
Yes.
the holy trinity of payroll, HR, finance.
Yes.
So
Yep.
it's
Exactly.
it has an amazing career path.
You know how many people I know that have dual certification? They have
Yes.
the FPC or the CPP,
Yep.
and they have SHRM.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Or yep. Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting fact, and we ran early, so I'm gonna just throw this in there. I've been in the news. I heard that s- social media is having trouble. Social media companies are getting scared because the new young folks are not posting as much. They're not, right? They're not engaging or posting. Well, they're engaging, but they're not posting as much. They're opting for direct messages or they're opting for private groups that they're making.
Mm.
Now, think about this as well. What's surging is B2B, business to business social media is surging. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can be an influencer, but guess what? It's not going to be the same because folks are getting tired of the way social media works and they're opting for a more private experience. So
Mm-hmm.
just think about that as young folks. Hey, it's not going to be the same playing field for the next 10 years. It's going to evolve just like it evolved to what it was today. It's going to
Yep.
evolve again. And they're predicting that business to business influencing is going to be what takes over social media. So just keep that in mind for young folks. It's evolving. And guess what? Become a payroll professional, become an HR professional, and you can influence in that manner because
Yep.
that's what folks are going to these social medias for. It's becoming the new Googles, right? If
Yeah.
you want information, people are going to their social media to look for it.
Yep. Yep.
Keep that in mind, folks. Until the next time, you have a great day and we'll see you. Peace.
As we near the end of this episode, we'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you for listening. Before we sign off, here are a couple of quick things. Don't forget to follow It's About Payroll on LinkedIn and It's About Your Paycheck on Facebook and TikTok. Thank you for being a part of our payroll community, and thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.